I think folks in the room that are either supporting government from a private sector perspective or government agencies themselves are seeing quite a bit of pressures, hindering in many cases the ability to accomplish mission. We're seeing hiring freezes, budget constraints, workforce retirements, and so there's a lot of constraints that government has to deal with in order to accomplish its mission. So what we think is going to help with that is the application of intelligent automation. And we have a perspective on intelligent automation that we think allows us at KPMG and in the private sector to apply the right technology to the right use case. So we've got 3 classes of automation, class 1 being robotics process automation, which you're going to hear mostly about today, which we think governments are really getting started with. Then class 2, you get more of the natural language processing and less structured data and learning assist. And then class 3 is that true artificial intelligence, machine learning, neural networks. And so I think the application of these particular capabilities into government is almost necessary and is happening today just to keep up with the demand of what citizens are expecting out of its government.
I was asked to participate in the modernization of technology in the government, and I was discouraged to hear that meant implementing cloud and agile, which we know have been around for at least 10 years. So there's not going to be a 5-year plan to implement 10-year-old technology. We want to really leapfrog and move forward. So how do I do that? Well, I've got to get my arms around the duplicative spend and reinvest that into modern technologies. And RPA is going to be a huge part of that.
But one of the aspects that even within very large organizations in the commercial side that we see is that legacy technology doesn't go away anytime soon. It's there, it's stayed there for a while, it's going to be there for a while. These organizations, like the government, they operate a lot of their core platforms on this legacy technology. And so taking this giant leap forward to do the blockchain and data analytics, you have to take into account that a lot of your good data still resides in these boxes in the back that you're hard to get to. So how do you make that leap forward into the blockchain? How do you make the leap forward into the data analytics? How do we unlock all this great data and information that we have available somewhere and get to that next level of being able to use it? And then taking a technology like RPA really is that next step of bridging the gap between legacy and future state in a very unique and innovative way.
The primary mission of the Transportation Department is safety. And we are swimming in data, safety data. And we have very few resources that have the ability to go out and inspect the rails, inspect the ports. We need to be able to use the amazing amount of data that we have to figure out the best way to apply our resources to serve the mission of the department. So to your point about data, there's an enormous amount of data in the Department of Transportation. We're learning how to use it. I mentioned the federation of the department and the 23 help desks we have going on.
Wow.
The opportunity to consolidate some of that, apply automation to eliminate some of the redundant activities. We have cut and paste going on. I mean, in this day and age, that should be automated.
Sure.
Out there in the field, the work that our inspectors do, really a lot of it is very manual, and automation can make a big difference. So it really is front office, middle office, back office,
right,
across the board. And it's really, right now what I'm trying to do is figure out where is the best ROI, where is the best opportunity to invest the dollars and focus. And I'm actually picking use cases across the board. We're going to try and get some leverage in each of those spaces.
Using a digital employee, using RPA robots to be able to support that kind of gathering of the data and processing it in a more, even if it's a poor process. We hear, Gregory mentioned earlier about the process is really important. I second that motion many times over. Most organizations, once they start opening up their process, finds out how inefficient they really are. But even taking an inefficient process and automating it will get you benefit now and then let you observe over time where you can start efficiently making that process fit a better way of doing the work.
We want to upskill the workforce and focus on the things that require judgment and really matter. And so RPA, as a way to manage some of that legacy infrastructure, but put, our human capital on the processes that really matter, that is a balancing act. It's an important part of the equation.
RPA can be a bridge to that, but it can also be an extension, as you mentioned before, of some of the technology extensions. Some of these legacy systems, they're not bad. They're legacy. They've been there for 30 years for a reason, because they still work. And they do a really good job of what they're doing. The issue we have is that they're not mobile. They're not digital. They're not interfaced in the way that we are expecting them to right now. But that doesn't mean they're bad systems. So how do we leverage a way to take what's good about those systems and bring it forward to connect it into some of that new technology, allowing us to get the value out of it and maintain it for a longer period of time? These systems have been paid for. They're very reliable. So let's keep using them for what they're good for.
The worst thing you can do is automate a bad process. You've got to start with what is the process. And what's really interesting to me in the government is that a lot of times we do things because we always have done it that way. And it takes some real courage to challenge steps in the process and ask the question, do we need to do it this way? Can we reduce it? Let's make that process more efficient, then let's automate it.
I think we're seeing that too. The majority of these automation projects that we're helping our customers with are really on that front end to understand the process down to the keystroke level. And to your point, you almost have to look at business process reengineering in a different lens now with these capabilities. So in the past, it's been how do we be more efficient, effective, use Lean Six Sigma principles. But now it's, okay, let's put an automation lens on this effort and really see, okay, where can we actually automate to reduce that FTE, to reallocate that FTE to the more cognitive activities. So again, it's almost a natural progression of BPR into an automation capability as well.
The first couple automations can be held within this proof of concept pilot phase and sort of insulated from the rest of the organization because you have a tight rein on the actual automations as you're building them. But as the information about automation spreads, and oftentimes it spreads very quickly between the functions within an organization, they find out, well, I've got a lot of processes that I'd like to automate as well, and I want to get in on this as well. How can I leverage this same kind of a concept within my part of the organization? And soon, if you don't have governance, you will have chaos because the automations will not be reusable. There won't be any cross-functional type of training to be able to support leveraging these same legacy systems with components that you could build once and then leverage across the entire organization. So again, it goes back to that concept of the pilot is a great place to start from an insulated perspective to kind of get your foot in the door. I understand how this works, but the next logical step is before we let this out into the wild, let's make sure that we can control how we use it. Not that we want to stifle usage, but we want to make sure it's a controlled usage so that as folks are adopting it within the various functions of the organization, that they take the best advantage of it. So they're not rebuilding things they don't need to rebuild, that they can leverage the knowledge and the experience that others that have done this before them can do in their part of the functional area. So again, let's not waste time. Let's continue to build out these environments in a way that makes sense and govern them in a way that we can control that growth.
Certainly, we have so many different systems that we use that require the same information. Automation is ripe for that. So, in passing tickets, in resolving problems, in partitioning assets, in managing assets. I mean, there's a ton of opportunity. Anywhere you have a lot of data and you're reusing that data, there's an opportunity for automation.